So here we are with Phil Holland at BandPro Open House 2015. Phil Holland's the director of photography, and Phil, thanks for sitting on the couch and talking to us about your work and 2015 and beyond.
My pleasure.
So how was 2015?
2015 was an exciting shooting year. It was a weird one for me. It was a little bit different than my normal fare. I spent a lot of time in a helicopter shooting aerials, which was great. A couple ride films, some visual effects driven shoots, things like that. And yeah, kind of weird for months just shooting out of the helicopter, but it was very pleasurable.
Let's start, what has been some exciting technologies for you this year, cameras or lenses?
There's been a lot of really nice developments on both sides. I've been really interested in high resolution, larger format filming. So I'm primarily shooting on RED cameras. That's been what I've been doing for a long time now. I am a Zeiss ambassador. And I also have a good relationship with Schneider Optics, and I shoot pretty much these days almost exclusively on Zeiss and Schneider lenses. They're kind of both doing the most exciting things for me, specifically the Zeiss Otis primes. I like the Xenon full frame primes that Schneider makes. Just did a shoot with those. They have this, I don't know, they have this kind of like really vintagey feel, but they're also really modern at the same time, and it's hard to find something quite like that for cinema application for larger formats. So yeah, I quite like those.
So as far as what you shoot, you work on features, you work on commercials. Give us a scope of what you work on.
Yeah, I tend to be the odd guy shooting weird VFX plates, sometimes special unit photography, in the past some B camera. It seems really random. It's more like my name's got tossed into a bucket, or there was something really hard to do, and they sent me out there, and I shoot for a day or two or a week or whatever. I've shot a few commercials now, a few music videos as well. Definitely aiming more towards doing more feature work in commercials. I actually, to finish up this last commercial project, I had to turn down a feature that personally killed me, but because that's really somewhere I'm trying to navigate towards, is to shoot more narrative features. Yeah. So I started working in the industry in 1999. I was hired by a visual effects studio called Rhythm and Hues Studios. And through that sort of doorway, it's allowed me to work for every major studio in sub capacity. I've shot stills for, production stills and VFX stills and footage for things like Night at the Museum 2, Iron Man, just all sorts of stuff, Golden Compass. Yeah, it goes on. Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah. I've been working for a heartbeat now, and it's been nice. I started when I was 19. Kind of grew up through the film industry in some way, shape, or form.
So, just looking at 2016, what's on your schedule, or what are you looking to achieve as we start the new year pretty soon?
I got one commercial project on the horizon that's going to happen. So, and I have one short film I'm going to shoot before the year's out. And that'll be fun. That'll just be a 3 or 4 day shoot.
What are you going to be shooting that on?
It's going to be a RED weapon. We're going to shoot 6K, and if we're real lucky, maybe get some time with the 8K. We'll see what happens.
Lenses?
I personally would love to use the Zeiss Otis primes on that one, just because I want to squeak everything I can out of this particular format resolution. Those are some of the most interesting lenses that have been designed recently. So. Just the spherical elements, the coatings, they're very high quality. They're designed for still, but they also have a little bit of motion in mind. You can tell by the focus pull. Maybe the compact zoom. I might use the Xenons from Schneider.
As a DP, how do you make choices about which lenses to use? I know it sounds like a general question, but for people that are coming up, for people that like to hear you talk about going about your business, your art, how do you choose, which optics to use, and because you have your own way about going about it?
I do. I test lenses with charts, projection, all that, checkerboards, but I also shoot some real-life test images because that's what you end up doing, obviously. I typically would go down to Duclos lenses, use my lens tech, and we've been working together for a long time now, Matthew Duclos over there. And that's where we project the lenses, and I've tested everything. I have a nice little library at this point. It's been kind of interesting. I think what it comes down to for me personally, is it's the character. There's the technical merit. You need a lens to do certain things. but sometimes there's productions that are much more about having a little bit of weirdness and funk. So if a lens exhibits character that I find desirable, I make a note of it. If it's a lens that's just ugly, I put it in a category of never to be seen again. But like a good example is, and actually through Duclos, I had him modify an Olympus OM set, Cinemod. So all these now have proper gears. These lenses haven't been used in 30, 40 years. And there's an entire set of them, and they're all pretty cool. Yeah. They have sort of a K35-ish vibe, but they cover larger sensors, like full frame sensors, like you'd have in a Red Weapon 8K or a Sony A7R II, something like that. Right. So vintage, but used in a modern way. I quite like that.
Just real quick question, who are some of your filmmaking heroes? I mean, if there's a top 3 that or so that really continues to inspire you.
I've been pretty fortunate to get onto sets when I was young, and I kind of didn't know anything. So learning from some of these top-end DPs has been pivotal, and directors as well. One I haven't worked with is Deakins. I obviously grew up loving his work, Shawshank, all that. I grew up on movies mainly in the 80s and 90s. I was born in 79, so I grew up with the Spielberg and the concept of that sort of style of adventure film and blockbuster. In fact, I'm kind of frustrated because the adventure films are, getting sparse. And I'm one of those guys that loves Super 8, because it locks into this sort of Goonies vibe, that adventure, creature, what's going on, kid love story, get a little nostalgia in there. I'm okay with that, and I've been fortunate to work with him. James Cameron's another big one. I was able to work with him twice ever.
I have a good question. Somebody like you with such a deep knowledge base of cameras and lenses and always hungry for more knowledge, where do you go to keep learning, whether it's online, something called books, which magazines are you reading, or are you just playing with things and learning, or all the above?
It's a lot of things. Our industry right now is moving extremely fast, and I'm currently in progress of a developing career, so I'm as much tracking technology to see where things are going with things like higher resolution display technology, HDR, VR. Some things have already happened for me in the past on certain projects. I definitely pay attention to American Cinematographer, ICG. More to hear about other DPs, directors' experiences on productions, to see how they lit a set, tackled a tricky camera move. That's where you get kind of inspired about certain things. For me, mostly, I spend a good chunk of the year testing and really getting intimate with cameras. VariCam 35, before it was released last year, I spent some days with it just to get really familiar with it, just to see everything it could do. It was new. It was something Panasonic hadn't done before. And I got my time in, and I was like, all right, this is the thing. It's the same with RED cameras. I want to know all the tools and the lenses intimately, because it affects how you work with them. If you're shooting for a day to 90 days, the more you know about something, the less it becomes an issue later on. Right. And knowing exactly what the tools can do, I find the best way to do anything is to test them out thoroughly yourself. So, but yeah, online there's a lot of great resources, more so now than ever. I publish a bunch of charts and stuff that a lot of people use, more format size, resolution size. I wrote that book for RED with the DSMC Field Ops Guide. That's a nice little sort of compendium of how to get the best images out of RED cameras, and I kind of stand behind that. I like that. Yeah.
You've got a blog that people go to sometimes?
I'm pretty active on social media. I like to post behind the scenes and weird images, or occasionally drawings I do, which people never really figure out are like either parts of storyboards or something. But I have my phfx.com website. I'm pretty active on reduser.net.
Well, great. We appreciate sitting down, talking with us today. Hopefully next December we can do the same, if not at NAB or some other show.
Yeah, hopefully we'll do it. My pleasure.
Yeah.